Welcome to the No Cap Sports YouTube channel. I'm your host, Matt Robinson, and today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. We're getting deeper into mock draft season, and the mock drafts are starting to feel a little bit repetitive. We're seeing the same names in the same places, so I decided to switch things up. We're going to spice some things up here and do an all-offensive mock draft. There are going to be no defensive players selected in this one, but before we get into that, go ahead and like this video, subscribe. We have a new mock draft dropping every single Friday at 5 p.m. Pacific time. And go ahead in the comments below during the video. Just tell me what picks you like. Tell me what picks you hate. And also in the description below, we do a podcast. Me and my co-host David, who's not going to be here today, we have a podcast. Most recent one, we talked about draft narratives and are we buying and selling the draft rumors. So go ahead, check that out, and let's get into this mock draft. All right, like I said, let's get into it. And just to let you guys know, there will be no trades in this mock draft. So starting off with the first overall pick, Jacksonville Jaguars. This one's been set in stone ever since the Jaguars locked up that number 1 overall pick. We're going Trevor Lawrence here. This is going to surprise nobody. This really is the only option for them. I mean, big guy. He's what you are looking for. He's a prototypical complete quarterback. He does have some decision-making stuff and other stuff to fix, but he is far and above in his own tier in this draft. And so we're moving on to the Jets with number 2 pick. They just traded Sam Darnold, which tells me quarterback. We already knew that they were going there, but this really just solidifies it and writes it in pen instead of pencil. So right here, all eyes and all indications are pointing to Zach Wilson right here. I don't see that changing. Really, the biggest question mark does start with this number 3 overall pick. What do the 49ers do? There are a lot of rumors swirling right now. Mac Jones is a guy because he fits the Kyle Shanahan system, but I don't think that. I don't think the 49ers will take Mac Jones. If Mac Jones does go to the 49ers, I think Kyle Shanahan can get the most out of him. But I think Kyle, the way he's been talking for the past basically like 6 months in press conferences after press conference, and even after they traded for this pick, they're looking for somebody that can be like the next guy, the next, not generational talent, but someone that can take them. He's looking for a guy that can be a top 5 quarterback in the league. Mac Jones doesn't scream that to me. Mac Jones is ceiling player comp. To me, is Kirk Cousins. The 49ers did not trade 3 first-round picks to move up to get a Kirk Cousins type player. You look for somebody that can be better than that. You can look for somebody that can be a top 5, top 10 quarterback in this league. To me, you look for somebody with elite traits that you'll be able to mold that probably will sit behind Jimmy Garoppolo for at least the first quarter of the season. To me, that's either Justin Fields or Trey Lance. And for right now, that's who I think it's going to come down to. It's either going to be Justin Fields or Trey Lance in this situation. Right now, I am in the Justin Fields camp. I think he's a better quarterback right now, and if he needed to start this year, he should be able to. Whereas Trey Lance, I think he definitely will need to sit a year because he only had 1 year of starting, and that was at an FCS level. But I would not be surprised if he does go number 3 overall to the San Francisco 49ers. But I'm taking Justin Fields here. Really accurate, pretty good deep ball. I mean, he brings a lot to the game. A lot of people do talk about that 4.4 speed. He just gives you somebody that can work outside of the system. And I think that's what separates Trey Lance and Justin Fields from Mac Jones. Mac Jones can survive and he can be good in the system, but once the play breaks down, I don't think Mac Jones can recover, where I think Trey Lance and Justin Fields would be able to. So I'm taking Justin Fields, number 3 overall to the San Francisco 49ers. And honestly, I think that's what's going to happen on draft day. That's what I hope happens because a lot of these guys are they're just throwing Mac Jones in there just because that's the type of guy Kyle's had before. I don't think that's the case. I think it's going to be somebody with a lot more upside. And hopefully that becomes reality because the 49ers, they haven't been leaking stuff. And if Mac Jones is the smokescreen, I think that's the best smokescreen they can have right now. But I think it's going to be Justin Fields. Moving on to number 4 pick, Atlanta Falcons. This one, there's a lot of talk. I do think on draft day they trade out of this pick. But if they don't, I think it's going to come down to a couple people. Kyle Pitts is on the board here, and so is Jamar Chase. We get the option of getting both of them because, as we've talked about before, they're kind of locked into Matt Ryan for the next year or two. Like this year, they owe him, I think, $22 million. That'd be his cap hit, $22 to $26 million. The year after, that's like a $48 million cap hit. And so, basically, if you do draft a quarterback, he's not going to be starting. Or if he is, they're going to have to somehow convert Matt Ryan's deal to like signing bonus. I don't even know if that's possible, honestly. But we saw the Saints get under the cap, and they were like $40 million. So anything can be manipulated. I don't think they go receiver. I think they go quarterback of the future. I think they take Trey Lance. I think they'll find a way to get rid of Matt Ryan's contract, find a way to absolve themselves from it. And also, Trey Lance is one of those guys. He's going to need a year. He's going to need a year to sit and just watch and learn. I think this will be a good landing spot for him, especially how tied they are to him. And honestly, Julio Jones is really good. Calvin Ridley came into his own. He's really good too. And I liked Russell Gage last year. I don't really think they need an upgrade at wide receiver right now. But I definitely do see them trading. But if they don't trade, I would not be surprised right here if Trey Lance goes here. Number 5 overall, Cincinnati Bengals. We talked about this last show. On our podcast, if you go check it out, we talked about this pick specifically. Because there's a lot of smoke going around that Joe Burrow is advocating to take Jamar Chase and that the Bengals are leaning to take Jamar Chase, which it wouldn't be the wrong choice, but you already have Tyler Boyd. You have T. Higgins, too. I'm pretty sure both 1,000-yard receivers. Could they stand to get a third receiver? Yes. Honestly, receivers not their biggest need, though. Like, they need offensive linemen. We saw Joe Burrow have – Zach Taylor loves having these long developing routes, and if you don't give Joe Burrow time, he can't complete any of these passes. So even if you do get Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow's still going to barely have time to throw. You have to get him protection. And I think the Jamar Chase thing is going to be a smokescreen, hopefully, because at all costs, you have to protect Joe Burrow. And so that's why I think Penei Sewell will be the pick right here. You have to protect him. You have to invest in him because we saw last year when he had time in the pocket, he would easily destroy. He was a really good player, and like he lived up to that hype of being the number 1 overall pick. You just have to get a better offensive line there. So moving on to number 6. So we saw the Dolphins. They traded with the Niners, went from 3 to 12, then traded back up with the Eagles, which tells me exactly what they're looking for. They're either looking to take Jamar Chase or Kyle Pitts. There's nobody else that you are trading for. I think it's still a little bit early for Caleb Farley, especially with his back stuff. Patrick Surtain. It's just a little bit early for defense. Maybe Micah Parsons, honestly. I honestly wouldn't be surprised. But since we're going offense, it's going to be between Kyle Pitts and Jamar Chase. They signed Will Fuller to a 1-year deal. They have Devontae Parker. They have Preston Williams. I like the receiver room. They also have Mike Gesicki. I like that too. I'm going to take Jamar Chase. I think once Will Fuller leaves, he'll be ready to take over that number 1 role, and he will easily be their best receiver. Give Tua basically just give him all the talent so you can see if he's a quarterback or not, because last year it looked a little bit shaky. You get him one of the top weapons in this draft, I think that's the correct move for them. So now, number 7, I definitely think this is a spot, if there's still a quarterback on the board, where somebody trades up to get their guy. But for right now, since we're not doing any trades, we are on the clock with the Detroit Lions. I think it would be funny if they took Kyle Pitts because they are known for taking first-round tight ends. And Kyle Pitts potentially can fit that. I don't want to say Calvin Johnson mold, but he is big and fast and strong where he can play wide receiver. Almost like I think he'll be a Travis Kelce type in the league. So I do think that I think they go wide receiver here. You get Jalen Waddle, you get a speedster in that potential Tyreek Hill option right there. And, I mean, you just continue the rebuilding process because Dan Campbell, he knows it's going to take a few years to get to where he needs to be. So moving on to number 8 overall pick, team that just traded for Sam Darnold, and it sounds like he will be their starting quarterback next year. They're already shopping Teddy. They picked up Sam Darnold's 5th-year option, which is a pretty big one. So over the next couple years, it looks like Sam Darnold's going to be there. You have DJ Moore. You have Robbie Anderson. Let's get him another big weapon. Kyle Pitts. Let him succeed. They do definitely have offensive line needs, but I don't think they take anybody unless Penei Sewell falls to them. I don't think they're in love with his offensive line class unless Penei Sewell is there for them. So I'm going to take Kyle Pitts, as I just said. Big dude, ran a 4.46, great speed, great quickness, really solid hands. You need to give Sam Darnold all the time and all the skills to allow him to show you, will he be the quarterback of the future, or are you just going to get rid of him after his contract runs out? And so you get him, you have DJ Moore, you have Robbie Anderson, you have 2 big guys, speed guys. Now you get that just big body that's just a mismatch. And him with Christian McCaffrey, this offense could be all like rolling next year. But I think if he falls to them, I would not be surprised Kyle Pitts is in a Carolina Panthers uniform. Moving to the number 9 pick now, Denver Broncos. And this is where picking offense only starts to hurt me a little bit because quarterback, honestly, I don't know how much better. I know Mac Jones is better than Drew Lock eventually, but I can't see that right here at number 9. Running back, I don't. It's too high for that. Wide receiver is an option, but this is one of the teams where they're surprisingly set. I mean, they have, I think Tim Patrick's their third guy. I don't know why it was the first one that came to mind, but Cortland Sutton and Jerry Jeudy. They drafted another receiver. I forget it was Hamler or Hill last year. Their offensive line is not the worst. They have Noah Fant. They have a solid running back. This is the year, we've been talking about it, me and my co-host David. This is the year where Drew Lock has to prove if he's the guy or not, and you have to know if you move on from him. Because this offensive line that's built around him, this offense is built around him. It's ready to go. It's just this defense. If it was a defensive pick, I would definitely take Michael Parsons here. But since I'm not doing that, I'm doing offensive line. I'm giving you somebody that can be versatile, somebody that can just play all the positions you need because they can stand to upgrade their offensive line. Give Drew Lock all the time he needs. I'm getting with Sean Slater right there to the Denver Broncos. You have to Drew Lock. This is his year to show does he deserve a second contract from the Broncos or not. And so you just give him another option. He can play literally all over the line: left tackle, guard, or center, or right tackle. So he can be all over the place. Cowboys, again, another team that hurts me, where it's just like they really need defensive players, but since we're not doing that, can't do it for them. They would have wished your Sean Slater guy right there. I kind of would have wished he got there. It's just so I could plug and play him just because he's an upgrade on their center, and I think he definitely is an upgrade, at least over Connor Williams. A guy that I think would also be an upgrade over Connor Williams or Joe Looney. I'm pretty sure Looney's their starting center. Elijah Vera Tucker. Can play guard, can play tackle. They have La'el Collins coming back. They have Tyron Smith coming back. Those two guys, honestly, a little, I wouldn't say injury prone, but they haven't played a complete season, I believe, in a couple years. Vera Tucker will be able to slide in easily on either tackle side, or if you want, which I think will be the best option for them, pop him on the other side of Zach Martin. So Zach Martin's one guard. You put Vera Tucker on the other side. Now the Cowboys' offensive line is where it used to be. You protect Dak. You got Zeke, who honestly, it kind of looked like he was trending downward in his career. Even though he's super young, he can have a bounce back season. Maybe it was just because the offensive line was hurt and they weren't creating holes. He couldn't find openings, but Tony Pollard was really he looked more explosive than Zeke last year. We'll see what happens this year, but their offensive line eventually in a year or two does need to get talked about and needs to get fixed. But as of right now, I think they should go defensive players, at least for the next year or two. But Elijah Vera Tucker slides in right there, can play guard or tackle. Moving to the New York Giants, staying in the NFC East. So now we are down a couple receivers. I think Kyle Pitts falls here. Honestly, wouldn't be mad at that pick. Replace Evan Ingram. But I'm definitely going wide receiver here. They have Darius Slayton. They signed Kenny Golladay, Sterling Shepard. They have a lot of guys, but I think you get a guy that can be a really solid – I think he can be a really good 2, potential 1. But as long as Kenny Golladay there, he's going to be a 2. And Devonta Smith, he's going to be your speed guy. Kenny Golladay is going to be your over-the-middle route runner, just dot people up with good route running, and Devonta Smith will be able to take the top off of people. I think that's a little bit of what they're missing. They're just missing that speed guy. And I think Devonta Smith would slide in perfectly into that role. So moving on to the next pick, Philadelphia Eagles. Now, this is where we take a receiver. Too early for Pat Freiermuth. Brevin Jordan, a little early, very early for him. But wide receiver, we saw Rashad Bateman. Honestly, I thought he was like 6'2", 6'3", clocked in at 6'1.5". That scared me a little bit, but they selected Jalen Reagor last year. You have your speed guy. I think they do go get a guy that can go up and get the ball. He's a big body, plays well. He plays bigger than he is, so it's almost like Julio Jones. Nah, I don't want to compare him to Julio Jones, but how he plays. Because Julio Jones is 6'3", and he plays like he's 6'5", 6'6". I think Rashad Bateman is, as I said, 6'1.5", but he plays like he's 6'2" or 6'3". He plays bigger than he actually is. He gets really good high pointer, really solid route runner. Honestly, wouldn't be surprised. I'd be surprised if they took him this high, but if he makes it to the second round, I don't think he will. I think somebody might trade up for him. I would love him to get to the Eagles. I just don't. I don't know if it'll actually happen. Because the Eagles, honestly, they're starving on defense. They are starving on offense, so potentially we can see him go this high, but hey, it's all offensive. Some guys are going to go a lot higher than you guys think. So Rashad Bateman, number 12 to the Eagles. You get a guy outside opposite of Jalen Reagor. You give Jalen Hurts another weapon, and see what he can do. Now moving on to the Chargers. The Los Angeles Chargers, I mean, great year from Justin Herbert last year. They're fixing their offensive line. They got Corey Linsley, paid him a huge contract. You still have Keenan Allen and Mike Williams on the outside. If Jalen Waddle was here, honestly, I think that would be hilarious and fun in their offense. But I don't think wide receiver is one of their bigger needs, even though I think Keenan Allen might have signed like a year or two extension, so he's there for a little bit. Mike Williams last year of his contract, but you definitely have to get a left tackle because how well Justin Herbert played. You don't want to shoot him. You don't want what happened to Joe Burrow to happen to him. You have to protect him. Get a true left tackle right here in Christian Darrisaw. He is probably he's probably the second best true left tackle. Penei Sewell, I think, has more upside, but Darrisaw, traditional plug and play, and this honestly, I'm betting this will happen on draft day. So Christian Darrisaw right here to the Chargers. I think it's just a great fit. You have to protect Justin Herbert. He has good footwork, really solid size, and I think he'll be in the league for a good, at least I'd say about 7 to 10 years. We'll give him that. But I really like Christian Darrisaw, and he's going to protect Justin Herbert's blind side for the future. Moving on to the next pick, Minnesota Vikings at number 14. This one is where I wish I had Elijah Vera-Tucker or Rashawn Slater just so I can plug and play, but they got rid of Riley Reef. They have Brian O'Neill, who's really solid. I think you need another tackle opposite of him. I like Tevin Jenkins as a right tackle. I believe I'm not 100%. I want to say Riley Reef with the left tackle. If I got that wrong, let me know in the comments below. If he was a right tackle, Tevin Jenkins would be my plug and play just because he started at right tackle for Oklahoma State for the past couple of years. But I'm going to go with a better left tackle in my eyes, in my opinion. And actually, I'm going to go Liam Eichenberg. This is usually earlier than I like to select him, but I think he can just plug and play right there. He is a guy that you start from day one. I don't know how much upside he has from here on out, but his technique and style-wise, I think you can plug and play him, and he will be a solid tackle in the league for a long time. Yeah, just a big dude, hard to move. A little early for him, but I wouldn't be surprised if they took either him. I think Sam Cosmi's in the conversation, also Jalen Mayfield. But right now I'm taking Liam Eichenberg. I mean, Notre Dame, they're known for churning out these tackles. And I think Liam Eichenberg's the next one. So now we move to the Patriots, who kind of filled their receiver need. They signed Kendrick Bourne. They have Jacoby Myers. They also signed Nelson Aguilar. Nobody that would stop them from taking a receiver. I think what we do here, you have Cam Newton. He didn't play too well. You find his potential successor. If Mac Jones gets selected, it has to be with someone with a good offensive scheme to know how to use them because Mac Jones in a good scheme, I think, will produce well. So Kyle Shanahan, Josh McDaniels, Sean Payton, somebody with an offensive-minded coach. We know Bill Belichick is the head coach, but Josh McDaniels is the OC. He takes care of the whole offense. I think Mac Jones would be a really solid fit for them right there. I don't know if he's a first-round talent. I think he sits behind Cam, but he's a different tier than Jarrett Stidham was last year. I think he potentially can be that quarterback of the future, at least for the next few years. Because remember, Cam only signed a one-year contract, so after this year, you need a successor, and I think Mac Jones will slide in pretty well right there. Moving to the next pick, Arizona Cardinals at number 16, and this is where I get to take a running back finally. Usually we get cornerback here. Sometimes we get a versatile tackle guard kind of person. Now we get a running back. We make this offense fun. Cliff Kingsbury is on the hot seat. We have to get this offense as loaded as possible. In my eyes, Najee Harris is the best running back in this group just because big, strong, fast. But in an air raid, we're looking for home run ability, and that's what Travis Etienne is. He has that high speed, mid. I think he could. I don't remember what he ran, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was mid 4.3s. Dude is fast, great pass catcher, really solid pass blocker. And in an offense where you want everyone moving fast, he is your guy. Him and Kyler Murray in the same backfield, you're not going to know running read options, running just anything. Like, it's going to be fun to watch. I think Travis Etienne, I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if he was the pick here, even if it was just a regular draft. Like, if you can take defensive players, I would not be surprised if they take running back right here. Moving to the next pick, though. Las Vegas Raiders got it right this week. This one's easy. They got rid of their whole offensive line. We're going Tevin Jenkins right here. They need a right tackle. That's the only spot they're sore in. I don't think they'll be mad at taking all the other tackles, but Tevin Jenkins, he's a plug-and-play right tackle for them. And, I mean, the big dude, you have Josh Jacobs, you have Derek Carr. Definitely could see them targeting a wide receiver. I think that's not one of the least talked about things for them just because of how quickly they tore up their offensive line. But outside of Henry Ruggs, they really don't have much. You have Henry Ruggs, you have Renfro, he's really mainly a slot guy. They do need a number 2 receiver, so it'll be interesting to see where they go in the second round. Moving on to number 18 with the Miami Dolphins. And let's see who we have on the board. So we go offensive line. They have a pretty solid offensive line. Dickerson, Davis, a little early for them. Tackles. Honestly, they don't have a big tackle need. They have Jackson that they took last year, and they have Hunt on the other side. Potentially they could go tackle here. I just don't think there's anybody good enough to warrant getting picked right there, at least for the Dolphins' sake. So right now I'm going to go running back over them right here. Najee Harris. Put him in the same backfield as Tua. You already got a big weapon in Jamar Chase earlier. You keep going on this, keep working on this offense. You get a true number 1 back, which honestly was one of the things they were lacking last year. I think Myles Gaskin will work best as a number 2 guy, kind of part of the committee. Najee Harris will be your lead back for years to come. Yeah, but I really like Najee Harris. Big guy. I mean, underrated pass catcher. No one really talks about it. Pretty good speed. He's not going to blow you away every single time, but I mean, we saw him hurdle him, I think, with the national championship, one of the semifinal games. Hurdle the dude. He had the athleticism. He has a long-term build, almost to be that Derrick Henry type, and it gives a little bit more relief to Tua Tagovailoa, who we said, honestly, it's not a prove-it year for him just because it's his second year in the league. A lot of rookies, quarterbacks do struggle. A lot of rookies in general struggle. So we'll hope he takes that leap from year 1 to year 2. And we just keep getting him more weapons because I think that defense, honestly, is pretty much set. Potentially could go edge rusher right here if we were doing defensive picks. But I think Najee Harris would be a great addition to this offense, and honestly wouldn't be surprised if that was what happens on draft day. But moving on to the number 19 overall pick now, Washington football team. Let's see if they have a nickname this year, but I don't think so. This one's, honestly, we got no quarterbacks on the board. Davis Mills was getting first-round talk on ESPN today. Honestly, one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. Davis Mills, honestly, probably won't get his name called until round 3, late day 3. Good former. I mean, he was the number 1 overall quarterback coming out of his high school class. It's just really never put it together at Stanford. And I think he can be a really solid backup potential spot starter, but for him to be first-round talk it's a little wild for me. But we don't need to get into that anymore. Moving to with the Washington football team, offensive line is the easiest need for them right here. You don't have a quarterback. They have Ryan Fitzpatrick. I really like their defense. It's really young. They have a lot of talent on it. Their offense could stand to upgrade. You could stand to get, honestly, another receiver here. I actually didn't think about that. Opposite, you have Terry McLaurin. You do need a guy on the other side. Oh, do I take Terrace Marshall here? I think I do. I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to take Terrace Marshall for the Washington football team. Offensive line definitely is a need, but to give Ryan Fitzpatrick another weapon, you have Terry McLaurin on the other side. Honestly, if they go running back maybe in the 3rd round, get another lineman maybe in the mid-second round, I would not be shocked. I would be happy with that draft if I was a Washington fan. Yeah, Terrace Marshall, big dude, 6'3", great speed. I mean, we saw him at LSU be a great complimentary receiver. I mean, Jamar Chase was there, Justin Jefferson was there, and he was still able to shine. You have Terry McLaurin on one side. You have Terrace Marshall on the other side. I honestly like that fit. Huh. All right, moving on to Chicago Bears. Right here, you have no quarterback. Honestly, we're just waiting for Matt Nagy to get fired. The Chicago Bears fans are just waiting for him to get fired. Get Matt Nagy out of there. Get Ryan Pace out of there. And just be able to move on. If Andy Dalton's QB1, honestly, you just need another weapon. For them, it's going to be best player available just because their defense, honestly, is set. Their offense, I mean, you have Andy Dalton, you have Allen Robinson, who's definitely going to leave after this year because he was franchise tagged. Really do like Mooney. I feel like if he had a quarterback that could actually hit him, he would have been talked about more, but had literally no quarterbacks there. So they go best player available in this situation. Potentially, I can see them taking a receiver, but you just build the offensive line. Jalen Mayfield right here is a really easy plug and play for them. I've been on the wagon right now where I think the Bears are going to have a top 5 pick next year. They're going to look super bad this year, and they're going to clean house. So you just take best player available, at least for their need right now. We're taking Jalen Mayfield right here for the offensive line. So moving on to another team that does need an offensive lineman. And also, Loki does need a receiver. They got back Ty. They have Michael Pittman, but it feels like they're missing another guy. Rondale Moore, Kadarius Toney would be fun there, but they have absolutely no left tackle right now, at least that I know of. So we get a North Dakota State product to protect the North Dakota State product. Dylan Radins right there, going to protect Carson Wentz's blind side. Honestly, don't hate the move. I think next to Quentin Nelson will make him look better. Quentin will be able to help him out and really just take them to that next level because they're one of the most complete teams in the league. It's just, do they have a quarterback? That's the question mark. And so you have to protect Carson Wentz. Honestly, day 2, they really do need to either grab a cornerback or a wide receiver because even though they are very complete, they could stand to have more talent at both of those positions. But right now, we're taking Dylan Radins, filling that left tackle spot, give more time to Carson Wentz. Jonathan Taylor, he gets to run behind that offensive line. Honestly, might be the leading rusher in the NFL next year. Wouldn't be surprised about that. And moving on to number 22, staying in the AFC South. Tennessee Titans right here at number 22. Don't have Rashad Bateman. Don't have Terrace Marshall on the board. You have A.J. Brown, and honestly could not tell you who the other starting wide receiver is. Also, tight end is a position of need for them. They did lose Jonnu Smith. I think wide receiver is the bigger need on this team. I'm going to go ahead and take Kadarius Toney. A little bit bigger than some people think. I want to say he's about 6 foot, 6'1". Really good speed. Don't know if he's a perfect complement for A.J. Brown, but it gives you the versatility to still move around to A.J. Brown if you need to. And Kadarius Toney is also another guy that you can play in the slot and also play on the outside. Big guy. You have to give Ryan Tannehill options because if Ryan Tannehill can't get a receiver, doesn't have weapons that can get open, he's going to revert back to Miami Dolphins, Ryan Tannehill, and that's absolutely what you do not want. You get a weapon in there, you get Kadarius Toney, and you hope that offense doesn't regress because they lost two key contributors in Corey Davis and Jonnu Smith. So we go Kadarius Toney right here, and we move on to number 23 with the New York Jets. The Jets are in a weird situation right here. Honestly, offensive line could stand to get better from them. Not the biggest need, but they do need it. Potentially, it's a little early for them, even if in all offense, running back is not the biggest need for them right now. I'm going to take tight end for them. I'm going to take Pat Freiermuth right here. So they are setting up a Kyle Shanahan type offense in New York. Kyle Shanahan, everywhere he goes, needs a tight end. He will use that tight end. You get a first-round talent right here in Pat Freiermuth. Big dude, really solid blocker, really solid receiver. They can have their George Kittle over there, their version of George Kittle. He's not going to live. I don't think he's going to be that in the league, but a really solid, productive tight end, both blocking and receiving. Very important and underrated for a Kyle Shanahan offense, but I think Pat Freiermuth will fit that mold perfectly. I really do like that move. I haven't been seeing that a lot. I feel Pat Freiermuth, honestly, he kind of is like an early day 2 player, but I would not be surprised if the Jets take him right here just because of how much they value him, and also because the Jaguars and Ravens are also potential guys to get tight ends in this draft and would take them in the first round. But moving on to the Pittsburgh Steelers right here at number 24. This one, to me, it's offensive line, and it's left tackle, Alejandro Villanueva. It doesn't sound like they're bringing him back. They still have a hole. You get Samuel Cosmi, big 6'7", 300 pounds. Needs to build strength, but going up against that Steelers defensive line will help him grow. And honestly, I wouldn't hate the move for them. It's kind of just filling a need more than anything. And if they're going to run it back with Ben Roethlisberger, you have to give him the most time that possible because he is not as mobile or agile as he once was. And moving on to the Jaguars, we're going to stick at the tackle position. I'm going to take Alex Leatherwood because they have Cam Robinson. He's going to be their left tackle. Leatherwood, I believe, can be a solid right tackle in the league. If not, push him in the guard, but you have to protect your asset in Trevor Lawrence. And you can hear me talk about this with basically, if you have a young quarterback, you need to get them protection. They have to be protected. Otherwise, we're going to see what happened to Joe Burrow last year. We're going to just see early injuries. We're going to see them struggle and having no time in the pocket, so they will make those early mistakes. So now we just get Leatherwood here, and we protect Trevor Lawrence, and you protect your asset of the future. And they also do have another early day 2 pick, which they potentially can select a receiver at, which honestly I think would be better for them. But you have to get somebody to protect Trevor Lawrence. It's only a few picks left on the board, so now we move on to number 26, the Cleveland Browns. And this is, I was thinking before what I was going to do here. Offensive line, honestly, pretty set. You have your quarterback. You have Nick Chubb. You have receivers. Do need a tight end. Brevin Jordan would be fun in this offense, but I don't think that's where they go. I think you get yourself a slot guy. They have Odell on the outside. They have Jarvis Landry. You get yourself a true slot guy, a true speed guy, and Rondale Moore right here, and you make that offense just deadly. You don't know where you're going. You have ultimate speed on that offense. I think it would be hilarious if he was in that offense and just an embarrassment of riches almost, because they are also, honestly, a complete team in my eyes. They have their quarterback, they have their running back, they have their receivers. Looking for a guy opposite of Myles Garrett, looking for another linebacker, yes. But offensively, you put Rondale Moore in this offense, it would look great. Honestly, in my opinion, it would be fun to watch. Only reason he's going to be a true slot guy is just because of his height. On his school's website, on Purdue's website, listed as 5'9". He clocked in at 5'7", but he runs 4.3s. Oh, he ran 4.29. My bad. You just don't find speed like that. They don't need it. It would be egregious, but it would be so much fun if he was in the offense. So we're going to take him right here and hope he doesn't get hurt. But yeah, Rondale Moore to the Browns, it feels fun. It'll be something fun to watch on Sunday. But moving on, number 27, Baltimore Ravens. They wish one of the big wide receivers came right here, just because they have Hollywood Brown, and honestly, Wrigley could have used Corey Davis in free agency, or even if Rashad Bateman or Terrace Marshall saw to here, those would be really two good landing spots for them. So I'm going to go and get a guy that has really good high point, really good hands, and really good route running ability. And we're going to take Tylan Wallace right here, number 27, to the Baltimore Ravens. He's 6'1", but he plays bigger than his size. Like I said about Rashad Bateman, plays bigger than he is. Only 6'1", plays about like he's 6'3". Honestly, usually wins high points. Has really good hands, really solid route running, and he's a type of player that you want outside of Hollywood Brown. Hollywood Brown is that speed receiver. He can get you downfield, but you want looking for this guy over the middle that can complement him well. I think Tylan Wallace is one of those guys that can do that, and honestly, might work his way into early day 2 talk, maybe even late round 1 talk. But right now, Tylan Wallace playing opposite of Hollywood Brown in that offense. Really wish we could have gotten him a tight end right here. Brevin Jordan, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he was taken here, but I think Pratt Freiermuth is a guy. Brevin Jordan does feel like a day 2 guy still. But yeah, Tylan Wallace, don't be surprised if you hear his name earlier than you think in the at least mid-second round, maybe in early day 2. But yeah, Tylan Wallace right here out of Oklahoma State. Big guy. I think he can start. He can be their starting wide receiver this year opposite of Marquise Brown. And it'll be fun for them. All right, let's move on to the New Orleans Saints at number 28. This one, they think they have the quarterback. They have 2 guys vying for it. They have Alvin Kamara. They have probably one of the best offensive lines in the league. So we're going to get them another weapon. You have Michael Thomas on one side. He's known for slot routes and over the middle stuff. He's not your deep guy. You get somebody that can go deep, and you get him right here in De'Ami Brown, who honestly he can run the short stuff. He's a really good route runner. He can do all that, but he can also burn you over the top. And these deep, the 9 routes, post routes, he can get you, and he can also route you up on the comebacks. Honestly, He's getting a lot of end of round one hype, and especially with Sean Payton using him, he will know how to use him. I believe he ran 4.4s. You get a speed guy opposite of a possession guy in Michael Thomas, and I think this takes the Saints offense. It keeps them where they are, like one of the best offensive in the league. We just need to see what happens with that quarterback position. But De'Ami Brown right here, solid, really good route runner, great speed, really good hands. Don't be surprised to see his name in the first round if it does come to this. But now we move on to the Green Bay Packers at number 29. And this is where we really would like to see them get a receiver, but I'm going to say Brown. You do Elijah Moore is more of a slot guy. See what tackles we have on the board. So Cartman, I think he's going to be a guard once he gets in the league. And you don't have any more offensive linemen that can transition to tackle. We're going to go where I went a few weeks ago. We're going to go get Spencer Brown out of Northern Iowa. As I said, this man is a absolute. I mean, they don't make him like him. He's 6'8", 315 pounds, ran a 6.99 3-cone. You don't see that from offensive linemen. And he's a great agile athlete. You have to protect Aaron Rodgers. He's playing his best football. Honestly, really doesn't matter with the receivers. He will make the throw to them, hit them right on the numbers. You have Devonta Adams. I think you can get somebody day two. You have to protect him though. You get Spencer Brown right here, who year one I think he struggles, but I think he has one of the highest upsides on somebody that isn't getting talked about in the first round. He has a lot of room to grow still, especially because he did go to Northern Iowa. So we keep him in that little North Midwest area and send him to Green Bay, Wisconsin. But moving on to number 30, the Buffalo Bills. Bills have weird needs. They don't really have many. If Najee Harris was here, honestly, I would love to put him there, and maybe we get Javonte Williams in there because of that. That'd be interesting. Wide receivers. Let's go. Offensive line, not the biggest need. I think it's going to be wide receiver or running back right here. You already have Stephon Diggs. You have a true slot receiver in Cole Beasley. They just signed Emmanuel Sanders. Where do we go here? Could be a spot for Tylan Wallace potentially. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Maybe. Who do we have? I'm going to take Javonte Williams right here from them. Their running game, honestly, not the best last year. It was mainly just Josh Allen. Devin Singletary didn't look that good. Zach Moss and his limited playing ability and his limited playing time looked all right. I think you need a true bell cow back. And we saw, I don't know if he'll be a bell cow, but Javonte Williams in a committee is very successful. Really great hands, really good pass protector. And I think he can be a 3-down back in the league. I don't know if I know they've taken running backs. I think, third round a couple years ago and the 5th round last year. We go Javonte Williams right here. Don't be surprised to hear his name early day 2, potentially with the Dolphins. But I think right here you get somebody that can play all 3 downs, really good pass catcher, really good at finding the hole. He's not going to burn you, but he's a patient runner, and he's really a bowling ball type of guy. I believe around 5'10", maybe 210 to 215 is where he'll play. It's going to be a Buffalo Bill. They get their 3-down back, and I think they'll be happy with that because their offense is pretty much set, and their defense honestly they need one more cornerback. But you get that running game going because when they didn't have their passing game, they really couldn't get the running game going, and they really just felt like they stalled out, especially in that early second quarter of the season between weeks 4 and weeks, honestly, 8 or 9. Josh Allen wasn't on point. They really couldn't get that running game going. I think you get them a guy right there that can get the running game going and take the burden off of Josh Allen's shoulders when he can't perform. But right now, moving on, number 31, Kansas City Chiefs. Another spot where pretty sure they still don't have the tackles. I think they brought back Mike Remmers, who got absolutely torched in the Super Bowl. I'm not loving the tackles we have right here. And because of that, they lost Sammy Watkins. They have Tyreek Hill, so they have Travis Kelce. I'm going to get them a number 2 wide receiver. I'm going to take Amon-Ra St. Brown. To me, I don't know if it's just because he went to USC and that's a connection I'm making. He can be almost like a Robert Woods type of guy where you can just use him all over the place. He's not going to burn you, but he can if he needs to. He's going to be just a great intermediate route guy, great short over the middle guy. Can't put him in the slot, can't play him on the outside. And with Andy Reid at the helm, this isn't going to be a bad pick for me. I think he's going to get the most out of him, and it's going to be fun. And honestly, I really do like Amon-Ra St. Brown. Don't know if he's a day 2 guy or a day 1 guy, but he will be a really solid production. USC is really known for that. They have Robert Woods, Juju Smith-Schuster, like those just second-round guys that just get the job done and really productive wide receivers. I think that's where Amon-Ra St. Brown is going to find himself once he gets into the league. Now we are on to the last pick. So it's actually a little bit shorter than most of our mock drafts. Most of them go like 50 minutes. I think this one's going to be a bit shorter than that. And we're on the last pick, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Super Bowl winners. Absolutely, honestly, no needs. Offensive line, one of the best in the league. Tristan Wirfs, as a rookie, one of the best tackles in the league. Quarterback, I don't like anybody that's here. I said Davis Mills was getting some talk. We're not taking him here. Kellen Mond would be fun to see in a Bruce Arians offense. I just don't think he's a first-round guy. Wide receiver, Elijah Moore, true slot guy. Nico Collins could be outside, but I think they're pretty set at wide receiver also. So I'm going to give them Brevin Jordan right here. The reason I'm doing that, 6'3", 245. I think he can bulk up a little bit more. Honestly, underrated pass blocker just because more people see him as a receiving tight end, but he can hold his own against a D end, at least as much as a tight end can. He's not going to be an elite like George Kittle type blocker, but he's a solid guy that you can keep on the line, as well as you can put him outside and he'll be a really good receiver. And take over that OJ Howard role, because OJ Howard every year it's like, oh, he's gonna do it this year. He's gonna make it this year. He's gonna be what we expect him to be this year, and it's just he doesn't live up to the hype every year. So I think we take Brevin Jordan right here to challenge OJ Howard for that second tight end spot. And Gronkowski is gonna honestly, once Tom Brady retires, I think Gronk's gonna retire. I think potentially that's gonna be after this year. You need another tight end in that building, and honestly, they don't really have any needs right now. So taking Brevin Jordan right there, and that wraps up the mock draft. All right, so all offensive mock draft. We have some guys going in the later picks that you usually don't see getting talked about in our mock drafts, at least, and you don't really see in other mock drafts going the way they do. But this was a fun one. I'm glad I could do this. Don't know if I'd be able to do this defensively just because of, honestly, the lack of talent in this draft defensively, at least top-end talent. But I really like this exercise. I think it was super fun, and I'll see you guys next week with another mock draft. Remember, 5 p.m. Pacific time is when these drop right here on this YouTube channel. Go ahead and subscribe if you hadn't already, and also like the video, and also, again, comment any of the picks that you hated, any of the picks that you liked. Peace out. See you guys later.